Hey everyone, how's it going? Last night we got a buff to Summer Musashi, and I want to talk about it. I'm sorry there's no face cam, I'm still a little sick from COVID, but we got to talk about this as a couple months ago, actually more than a couple months ago, what was it, August I believe, maybe July, last year, I of course made a video about Summer Musashi and how a one buff is not really enough to fix her problems that she had at the current time. So her buff is an NP buff. We'll read the buff and then I'll kind of talk about my opinions of it. So it's, of course, it being an NP buff just means it straight up just deals more damage now. So it goes from, at NP1, it goes from 450% to 600%. So that's really nice. That's awesome. Sorry about that. But she also gets a new overcharge effect on top of her sealing Saber enemies MP for one turn, and the overcharge effect is deals extra damage to Saber class servant enemies and 200% on overcharge one. So, in a vacuum, like just surface level, this is a good buff. This is a really strong buff because typically just getting your NP buffed is strong. You know, just getting more damage. That's awesome. But in the grand scheme of Summer Musashi and where we're at in the game, like I said in that video, I'm going to link it, you know, if you guys want to check it out. But it's not enough. It's not enough for this character. This was my worry for this character when she eventually got buffed, is that you can't buff this character with one aspect of her kit when she still has her first skill and her third skill like this. These skills suck. Like, I'm just straight up, you know. First skill is terrible. Third skill is terrible outside of the ignore invincibility. And, you know, obviously it's just my opinion, but kind of, I want to sort of talk about how, because I've seen some discussions about like, oh, well, you know, if they just gave her a battery, people would have complained. And I didn't want a battery. In the original video, I didn't want a battery. I wanted them to do kind of what they did a little bit, you know, where they give her a niche and stuff, you know, but they gave it on the NP and when you do when you design a character like this, where it's like, okay, we're gonna have her be the Saber class servants. It's not even class; it's servants. So if you run into a random, you know, the Spriggan, you know, like the big tree guys, you know, get wrecked. But when you have to run into a Saber servant and she gets cracked out, you know, she goes crazy, but that's only really applicable in challenge quests, right, or harder content, because in farming nodes, you're still probably just going to use Ibuki. She's still just, like, there's no reason to acquire Summer Musashi with this buff over Ibuki, because the cost of trying to get her and try to upgrade her and everything does not, and the value of her being a Saber killer, Saber class, a servant killer, does not outweigh just, hey, I just have a Ibuki and I'll just use her for most of farming. And that's farming. I don't really want to focus on farming, but even for challenge quests, her kit is not designed for challenge quests. Her first skill is a one-hit evade and a crit damage up with no absorption. She's never going to sniff those stars that you might generate, you know. It's frustrating to me because it's like it seems like they want her to be a challenge quest servant, which, and this is just, you know, my opinion, there are definitely characters that work like this, but I don't think you can be a really exceptional challenge quest servant, like a general challenge quest servant being an AoE, but obviously she has the NP damage upgrade now, so she gets up there a little bit, and, you know, it's fine, but most of the time you kind of want a single target or whatever, you know, but now she has the NP upgrade, it's fine, you know, but she still has these two skills that are not very good for challenge quests unless you're just trying to kill something, like if it's a challenge quest where you just gotta minimum turn or whatever. If you're like a mid-turn, player or whatever, just want to kill it as fast as possible. I could see that because she has ignored invincibility. She increases her attack, yada yada, whatever. But for most challenge quests and most players, it's not like that. I don't think most players will ever choose this character for a challenge quest over their archer if they have to kill a saber. You know what I mean? And that's my issue is for players that have every character in the game, and which, pause, I'm pretty close to one of those players. Like, I have a lot of the characters in the game. Like, it's like, I am not a, free-to-play player complaining about the whales having it or whatever. Like, I have a lot of the characters, This is more speaking about, like, the value of the servants. And when they release a new servant or buff a new servant, or buff a servant, an existing servant, I feel like they need to add value to the servant so that there is a reason to summon for them if you're not like, oh, I gotta have every character or whatever. If you're someone that, spends a little bit amount of money or is free to play, I feel like every servant, and this is a, utopia, obviously, but every servant should have a reason to be summoned for, and it should be like a pretty compelling reason, And I think there would have been a pretty compelling reason for it, Summer Musashi, if she got a buff on one of these skills that looks super outdated now. I mean, she did come out in, 2019, I believe? But, like, this first skill is so terrible. It's so bad. It's one attack and she's a berserker. And she's going to start at like 2/3 health because she takes 5,000 damage on her third skill. And it's like, I don't understand. I'm not even asking for a battery because we're not even talking about farming. But in a challenge quest, when are you using this character? Outside of like very niche specific. And now it's a wider pool now, right? Because anytime you see a saber servant on a challenge quest or hard mode content, you're gonna be like, okay, hey, let me check it out, let me see, let me try Musashi. But it's the general feeling, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. It's the general, like, there's no reason to use this character over for challenge quests and archer most of the time, that has better defensive skills and stuff, unless you are super gamer and you're trying to minimum turn or whatever. And then obviously we don't even need to talk about farming. There's like at this point 5 to 10 better characters at farming than this character, and the niche scenarios where, oh, there's a saber servant that has 2 billion health. She's still, I'm using 2 billion as a exaggeration, obviously, but some saber servant that has a ton of health, you're still probably gonna use a Buki, like you're still probably just gonna use Buki unless you have Musashi. Then you probably will use Musashi, but there's no reason. It doesn't cause anyone to go, damn, I really need Musashi now. Damn, I've been running into these saber class servants. And there's like waves of 3 of them, and I have no way to defeat them because Ibuki somehow doesn't do enough damage. So damn, I really need to acquire Summer Musashi and spend a ton of quartz and probably money to summon for her. Because that's my main issue is every character in this game, there's a cost associated to them. This is not a game that is realistic to have multiple characters. The summon rates are pretty bad. And it's really like I try to evaluate servants and talk about servants in a way that's sort of the middle ground. Like, hey, I can't assume that you're only gonna ever be getting one servant a year, but I can't assume that you're getting every character in the game, if that makes sense. And for this, Summer Musashi, I think there's no reason to ever recommend this character to someone that doesn't already have her or is already going to summon for them regardless because they have every character, they like her or whatever, and obviously this is bypassing or like, this is not including the fact that, hey, she's a very popular character. I have her like MP2 or 3, maybe she might be 3. No, I think she's 2, but and hey, I might run her out there. I ran her out there for the Samurai Remnant event because she got damage bonus and everything, but yeah, it's rough buff, in my opinion. I think would have, like, in the right direction, right? In the right direction. Kind of, if you watch that video that I made, a couple months ago that I'll link, it is similar to what I recommended and what I said I kind of wanted. But I definitely was, like, prioritizing the skill. Definitely the first skill. Third skill could use some work too, but definitely wanted to see if they wanted to go the route of, hey, we want her to be sort of challenge quest focused. I would have loved to see the skills buff because her skills are really bad, in my opinion. Third skill is nice for the ignore invincibility, but other than that, it's pretty bad. And it's just a weird direction. Like, they released Ushi Goes in as well, and she's like a weird, like, she has like no place in the game. That's kind of how I feel about Summer Musashi. She has a place. I mean, she has like a, well, not really, because it's like most of the time when you're gonna try to kill a saber, you're probably just gonna use an archer, right? Challenge quest. Very niche, applications. But they've been releasing, like, the way they release characters, it feels like, or buff characters, or whatever. It's like, hey, here's this character that is gonna do a little bit better than, like, the broken character of their, like, archetype, if they hit a certain niche. And if that's how they want to design characters, they have to make the niche fairly large, in my opinion. And Saber class servant is not very large. If this was just Saber class, I think it'd be fine. Like, I know, like, Durga and some of the AoE archers would be, like, in a rough spot, but that's because they designed them badly anyway in the first place, and they, I feel like it's hard to like, police the buffs and who should be better than who if they do it themselves and then they say, oh yeah, Melusine gets the go ahead. Yep. Summer Melusine approved. Summer Ibuki approved, and kind of going down a different path, but Summer Castoria approved. You say Kenshin approved. Like they release these characters that are obviously nerfed and like pre-release almost. And then I'm talking kind of Ushigos. This is kind of going down a tangent, but they release these characters that feel like pre-nerfed, like not as powerful as they could. And then we get releases like I just said, Summer Melusine, Summer Castoria, Summer just Yusei Kenshin in general, And it's like, damn, where was this for Ushigose, for example, And I don't know, just their servant gameplay design recently has been really weird and interesting to me. It doesn't really make sense who they decide is, like, because they obviously don't care who is the most powerful or not. Like they aren't having these discussions like, oh, well, we can't. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they are saying we can't make Musashi as good as Ibuki, and then they release Summer Melusine, who's obviously they're not the same class, but same super omni, arts looper, insane, character. But anyway, that's gonna be it for me. This is just a quick little thing. Sorry if my voice sounds super silly. My nose is super clogged. Later today, I am going to be streaming. I haven't streamed it a little bit. We're probably going to be doing just some of the events on NA and JP, so if you want to check that out, you should. Sorry, this was sort of like a negative video. I hope I get to start doing more positive videos, and, about Fate. But I did just want to get this out there, and I think this is a pretty good, like, sort of sequel to a video I did a long time ago that I think was, fairly successful back then. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, hope you guys roll for Summer Musashi now that she's gonna be the Saber class servant killer. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.